We are making history here once again within the Canadian E-Motorsports Network and here within Season 3 of the Indycar Series powered by Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue. And speaking of Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue, they are presenting us with tonight's race, round 6 of 16 on the season-long calendar. It is the CGV 100 presented by Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue, our first race in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. On the call here tonight, as per usual, from Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island, you're hearing his voice. It's Regan McCauley, been here since last year, of course, and then on the other side, he's been here, or 2022, excuse me, and then on the other side, he's been here since the very beginning. He's on the other side of the country in Alberta, Canada. It is Jordy Kerher. Jordy, welcome back. Obviously, you were not with us for Pocono Raceway last week, but of course, glad to have you back nonetheless.
Yeah, happy to be here. This is actually coming at a perfect time, as you well know from our pre-race chat. But yeah, it sounds like I missed a bit of a barn burner last week, hey?
Yeah, something like that. I was just explaining it to you while the intro was playing there. Plenty of battles for the lead. I think we had up to like 30 lead changes or something like that. It was William Kern, Stephen Ellis, Jordan Kalenian, a bunch of guys going at it consistently throughout the race. There were multiple cautions. And it kind of felt long, but at the same time, it did eventually fly by. And it was William Kern and Stephen Ellis going at it, heading into the closing laps. And then with about 3 laps to go or so, caution comes out as Kern is just ahead of Ellis. We were about to have a finish for the ages. Tragically, we were not able to get that, but nonetheless, we were able to have William Kern come on out with his first career victory in the Canadian E-Motorsports Network. The guy started his career back in the NASCAR Series in Season 5 with a couple of starts and showed plenty of promise. And now here onto the open wheel side, he certainly has been making quite the impression here. Going to my notes here, of course. He's got finishes of 8th, 15th, and 9th on the road courses. And then here on the ovals, again, a good finish back at Texas, I believe it was a top 5 after qualifying on the pole. And then at Pocono, goes on to win. So how about that?
Hey, I mean, it's an impressive start for him, especially on the oval configurations, like you said. And, just a matter of, I think, just kind of having things fall his way as much as anything else. As you mentioned, the potential was evident right from the start. But now that there's a little more comfort there, now that there's, a little bit more, I don't want to say confidence, but you get kind of what I'm going for there. Familiarity, I guess, with everyone around him, it starts to get a little bit easier, maybe a little bit more familiar. And yeah, a guy like Will Kern, obviously, he's the guy who's starting to find his rhythm right about now. And yeah, I'm very curious to see how this will propel him forward.
Yeah, certainly a contender for sure for the A.J. Foyt Cup, the Oval Championship. Of course, we have 3 championships going on here this season. We have the season-long Greg Moore Cup, which counts every single race altogether. We have the A.J. Foyt Cup, which was hosted last week at Pocono. Tonight, we return to the Mario Andretti Cup for the road and street courses. Before we get into that discussion, of course, the Side Launch Brewing Co. 250. Here are the results around 5 of 16 on October 8th, 2024. Of course, William Kern at Dansville, New York for Hyperdrive Esports with the first win. Stephen Ellis falling just short of redemption after crashing late at Texas a couple weeks back. He qualified on the pole, ran up front all day, but just fell short because of yet again another oval race, Jordy, that ended under caution late.
Well, I mean, that's both of them so far. And I mean, again, I didn't get to see quite as much as you did. Obviously, I was not here last week, but obviously we saw how things went down at Texas. If Pocono was anything close to that, I mean, I can't imagine anything better, quite honestly. Just that constant level of competition, always something to watch.
Absolutely. So we had a 17 car field participate in the Side Launch Brewing Co. 250 at the virtual Pocono Raceway. Definitely a couple numbers up compared to some past races, especially back at Zandvoort and earlier on. But still, quality over quantity is the way I like to put it. Sometimes if we end up having a low field, we still had quite the crop of drivers participating last Tuesday in the Silence Brewing Co. 250. Kern, Ellis, and Kalenian, your podium finishers, all combined to lead a bunch of laps. Kern led 44, the most out of anybody. Ellis led 12. Kalenian led 23. He continues to make an impression on the open wheels side, the reigning NASCAR Series Rookie of the Year. Kyle Knoll, Jose Mercado coming out with some solid top 5 finishes. Bryce Fontaine, Andy Hertel towards the bottom of the board, unfortunately eliminated early on in the race. And for Bryce Fontaine in particular, he and Charlie Sears at one point got together coming off of turn number 4, with Charlie Sears riding the catch fence going down the front stretch. It was to explain it to you, Jordy, it was a situation where I think there was a bit of panic going on. Fontaine thought he had the high side to himself, and then Sears tried to get around him because he had more speed. Tried to go the high side, not fully clear, hit that right rear tire of Fontaine and went right up on his side, rode the fence. We had photos of 2 incidents that happened coming exiting out of turn 4. Jason Butler also having an issue where he ramped a car and had all 4 tires up in the air himself. So the exit of turn 4 certainly had its moments last week.
Well, what turn 4? Am I right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, clearly the way it went down, yeah, I obviously heard some of the chatter about that post-race. I wasn't, paying attention in real time, but certainly very much a talking point. But ultimately, I think cooler heads prevailed on all sides of those incidents that you referred to. And yeah, on to another week here. And yeah, we'll see if it kind of maintains a similar level of excitement.
Yeah, turn 3, excuse me. I'm so used to ovals with 4 turns, obviously. So yes, turn 4. But now moving on here to multiple of the point standings here. Starting off with the year-long standings where, of course, after round 5 of 16, Bradley Sexton leading the way with 216 points out of Fishers, Indiana. Jordan Kalenian is second at 164. And then Charlie Sears, William Kern, Andy Hertel are in an 8-point bubble for third place. There's a couple of ties along the way. Darcy Ford and Corbin MacAulay tied for 6th. Kyle Knoll and Hunter Young are tied for 11th. Daniel Cudmore, Stephen Ellis are tied for 17th, but obviously still early on here in the season. You can see all those arrows to the right side there in between the total points between each driver plus their hometowns.
Yeah, nothing wrong with a little bit of movement every week. I mean, that's a lot of movement, but hey, it just means everything's consistently competitive as much as anything else. So, like I said earlier, I don't think you could really ask for anything more after, pretty much hitting the 1/3 mark of the season.
And then here is the Mario Andretti Cup points after round 3 of 8 back at Circuit Zandvoort, where Bradley Sexton leads the charge over Jordan Kalenian and Charlie Sears. Corbin MacAulay's 4th, Darcy Ford and Andy Hertel both tied for 5th place. Sexton still remains undefeated on the road and street courses. He won back at Barber. He won Long Beach. He won Zandvoort. Long Beach, he led every single lap. And then Zandvoort, he had to deal with some adversity along with some of the other top dogs in the field, but he still came around and got the job done. Now that we're up over the border, we're in Canada. We're at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, Quebec. Is someone finally going to deny him tonight?
Oh, man, it's hard to say. Like, he's literally 1 point from being perfect in the Andretti Cup so far. Looks like Kalenian might have grabbed 1 at Zandvoort, if memory serves. I think it's a 54-point max each race.
1 what?
Like, one of the 1 point that would keep Sexton from being perfect in the Andretti Cup side of things. Like, for leading a lap or leading a number of laps, perhaps?
I haven't exactly checked that, but anyways, we'll move forward. And I mean, it's no surprise whatsoever that his name, I won't say where he is, but he is up towards the top of the practice board at the moment. It's just a matter of if he can be able to win yet another one here, of course. Moving on now to the Nations Cup, where I'd say... I think it's self-explanatory if you look at the numbers.
Hey, maybe home track advantage will start the comeback here a little bit.
Maybe. Unfortunately, they're not going to have the 46 of Stephen Ellis, who is committed to running in the AJ Foy Cup. He'll run all the oval races and not on the road and street courses. So unfortunately, there's going to be a massive disadvantage there. But guys like Mike Marini, Hunter Young, Darcy Ford, Jason Butler, Corbin MacAulay in here, there are still plenty of talented drivers from up here in Canada that can still get the job done and try to pull the gap together maybe a little bit. We can at least try to have some confidence just to sound professional.
Well, you want to say sound professional? I mean, I'm ready to fire off a groundhog cannon at some of these guys to try and close the gap.
Yes, indeed. Now there is the Rookie of the Year point standings. Obviously, the rookie term is used loosely here in the Canadian E-Motorsports Network because, quite frankly, Bradley Sexton and Jordan Kalenian are both some of the top drivers in the field in terms of I rating. But still, in terms of the network itself, we still have to stay consistent. Bradley Sexton leads the way over Kalenian. William Kern has started to move his way up and is starting to catch Kalenian for second place, 164 versus 146 points. Bryce Fontaine's been moving up. He's at 99 points. Jason Heaney, Stephen Ellis, Justin Belmonte, and Trevor Binns are rounding out the Rookie of the Year points. But the best way I can put it is it's been mostly all Bradley Sexton, but Kalenian has been starting to get on pace with him, and William Kern, even with the win from last week at Pocono, is starting to put himself in the mix too.
Yeah, like I said earlier, you're starting to see more guys getting a little bit more comfortable with the IndyCar setup here. The IR18, yes, it was the IR01 that was the rocket ship last year, right? And I had them briefly mixed up in my head. Guys getting familiar with this year's car, how about that?
Yes, the Dollar IR18 versus the IR01.
Thank you. I was kind of flailing there for a second, but I'm good to know that I'm good.
Yes.
Yeah, as I say, when you see guys with I ratings of, your Kalenians and Kerns, you don't expect them to take too long to get a handle on just about any vehicle. We noticed that on the NASCAR side of things as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so not necessarily a surprise to see, the form that they've built up over the course of years of racing translate, but, the results ultimately matter as well, and it seems like those are starting to come together a little bit as well, and who knows, we might still have a little bit of a fight on our hands before all said and done.
Absolutely, still plenty early here in this season. And so that pretty much does it all for the action after the Side Lounge Brewing Co. 250 at Pocono Raceway. Now we move on here to the schedule. And we are just quickly approaching here the end of this first half of the calendar. Of course, this graphic only shows the first half of the 16 race schedule that we have here for the season-long Greg Moore Cup in Season 3. The CGV 100 presented by Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue coming up here tonight at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. 37 laps, of course, qualifying format back to best lap in 15 minutes, which is coming up literally right now. We're going to get to that in just a second. Of course, that's how the road and street courses work with qualifying. And of course, one thing to know too, previous winner, there's none. That's going to be the same case in Michigan next week too. This is going to be, we're in the middle right now of 4 weeks in a row where 3 of these tracks we have never been to before in the IndyCar Series, and Circuit Gilles Villeneuve is one of them here in Montreal, Quebec. We were at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park last year for the little annual Canada race with the Dollar IR01 in the Dart Series, as we called it last year. So obviously back in Canada, but it's a completely different circuit, different circumstances here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this should be, a pretty formidable evening here. Maybe not the most difficult of tracks, but still plenty of places where it can go wrong.
Well, do not underestimate it. Remember, Long Beach about eliminated half the field.
Oh, I mean,
it's not Long Beach, but I'm just saying.
No, you can see literally just how much of a difference there is in terms of actual places to go instead of it just being pure walls all the way around.
Indeed so. Located on the Parc Jean Drapeau Island? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, Parc Jean Drapeau, yep.
Sure. Yeah, the island there in Montreal, Quebec. It's named after hometown hero Gilles Villeneuve, Born in 1950, passed away in 1982. He won the Canadian Grand Prix in 1978. This track hosts, of course, the annual Canadian Grand Prix. It's hosted between 1978 and 1986, 88 and 2008, 2010 and 2019. Then the pandemic killed that off until 2022. It's also hosted NASCAR racing from the Xfinity Series and the Canada Series between 2007 and 2012. 14 turns, 4.3 kilometers, 2.7 miles. I mean, as you say, it's not the hardest circuits ever, but it's still pretty complex and very, very speedy.
Yeah, I mean, when I said it wasn't necessarily always the most difficult, yes, there are plenty of places to get it wrong, like multiple chicanes and quick complexes, like you said before. But yeah, this is a relatively quick lap here around this particular track, and I, for one, am looking forward to seeing just how quick we can get.
Now, we do not have a specific hot lap video in time here to do, so we are going to do this live and under qualifying here. And let me see. Why don't we do it? If you're good, why don't we do it with the guy that has been undefeated on the road and street courses so far?
It seems like a pretty good idea to me, as we'll hop on with Brad Sexton and we'll say a hearty salut Gilles as we'll come across the start-finish line here momentarily right about now. And it's a relatively short run into turn 1 and quickly into turn 2, known as the Senna turn, or Virage Senna if you're interested in the French pronunciation. And now it's a kind of medium length run here into one of the, well, maybe not that one, as Sexton kind of overshoots it a little bit. Take 2.
Sure,
right,
over to Charlie Sears.
I was going to say, I don't know if we're necessarily picking up from the same spot here again, but I think, yeah, this looks like the long straight between turn 7 and 8. Yeah, this is the 8 and 9 chicane. Sears handles that one pretty nicely. And it's going to be a relatively shortish approach here to the casino hairpin. And it's very, very tight at the end of this circuit. Sears, maybe even a little too tight on the handling there. Could have gone a little bit wider, I think. But anyway, he'll get to pick up some speed here as he comes down the casino straight. Mini kink here, known as turn 12, right about there. Now this is the full-on straight. And eventually we'll be coming up on the final chicane of this particular track. And you can't really say you've raced Circuit Gilles Villeneuve unless you've tapped that wall of champions. Sears didn't that time, but, you know, to get every inch, go for the wall of champions, go all out, and there is your one-ish lap of Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
Thanks very much, Shorty. Yes, of course, Sexton had a bit of a mess up there, and then we were able to translate over to his teammate, Charlie Sears, who, the reigning IndyCar Series champion, still has yet to pick up his first win on the season, still winless here through 5 completed rounds, has still gotten plenty of decent finishes. However, I mean, looking at my notes, he's got, on the road and street courses specifically, finishes a 2nd, 16th, and 2nd. Back at Long Beach, he was running up front, and then he crashed out early.
Yeah, that was looking like probably another P2 there as well.
Yeah. So hopefully the pattern doesn't keep going and something happens here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone's going to catch Bradley Sexton in the Andretti Cup side of things, yeah, finishing tonight's going to be optimal for that, or essential even.
Indeed. So I just gotten word here of a request to do the introduce a starting lineup while the cars are either on pit road or they're going to be on the front stretch. We did that back at Pocono just because of the way things were running and such, I believe. Yeah, we were dealing with some iRacing service difficulties, so... And no surprise, it does come at the fact that fuel is going to be very interesting tonight, because I was told before tonight that the fuel window of this 37-lap race, remember, 37-lap race, the fuel window is about 17 to 18 laps, so... Because of that, and because we don't have automatic full course cautions on road courses, they have to be done manually, like admin thrown cautions. guys might be short by a lap at the end.
They might be, yeah.
Might be.
I know there was an alternative strategy pitched.
There is that, yes, that too.
Yeah. Potentially, just making it a 2-stop race and just, eliminating any possibility of an issue. But, I mean, the time lost versus the potential of saving a lap over the course of an hour, that could, make things rather interesting. There'll be some calculations that have to be made over the course of the evening, to say the very least.
That's the thing, too. There might be a strategy that comes out of nowhere here and blows us away, and it will be the reason why somebody ends up going to victory lane here in this first annual CGV 100 presented by Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue. And so with under 8 minutes to go here in this 15-minute qualifying session, right now it's Charlie Sears leading the way by .051 over his teammate, Bradley Sexton. Andy Hertel currently in third, the winner back at Texas Motor Speedway. He has been... Where the heck am I reading this? Oh, yeah, there we go. On the road and street courses, he's got finishes of 6th, 11th, and 6th. Again, currently tied with Darcy Ford in the Mario Andretti Cup points, so he'll look to try and break the tiebreaker and go ahead of him. Of course, compared to the ovals, it's been a bit of a roller coaster so far this season for him, but again, he's been finishing solid, and he's always been a consistent threat every week. It's just a matter of how the result plays out for him.
Absolutely, and I mean, that's kind of the identity that Andy Hertel's built as a driver, regardless of the series, really. And, wouldn't be surprised to see him again in a relatively competitive spot here again tonight. We know he's an avid Formula One guy as well, so Gilles Villeneuve will be a track that I was about to say a track that he enjoys, but oh boy, going a little sideways there, hey?
Yeah, that's certainly one way to do it.
Yeah, but the other thing I was going to point out was, we were briefly going through the order, and you mentioned Hertel being third right now. Slightly oversimplifying things a little bit if we happen to look at the times, because the top two, there's over a second separating second from third right now on the grid. So
yes.
This may well be another 4.99 night, although Kalenian's just jumped in within a second as well. So still a little ways to go, 8.5 tenths for Kalenian as he posts a 21.2. But, maybe guys will start to figure it out here over the last 5.5 minutes.
Yes, indeed. Kalenian has ever so slightly approached his way closer to the top two. 8 tenths back now in third place, ahead of Hertel. Now, Jared Ireland, Corbin MacAulay, 5th and 6th. Ty Higginbottom returning back to the road and street courses here. He only has one start with a 7th place finish back at the season opener at Barber. He's currently in 13th.
Indeed. Let me just pull this back up. Guessing an in lap here, potentially. Yeah, runs a little wide in the hairpin. Whereas, like I said earlier, which turned out to be the lap that everybody's still chasing, I was thinking at that point that Sears might have gotten even a little tight on that hairpin. But again, his lap is the one that's still topping the charts. So really, what do we know up here? We're just kind of watching, and we're watching as Ireland gets a little closer to the top.
Yes, he does. Wow. Just over a tenth.
Yeah, that's a nice little reintroduction, shall we say. Again, with guys having... Oh, boy. Oh, background.
Kyle Knoll. Yes, it is.
All right, yeah, just coming down the casino straight. And, oh, man.
He did the Alex Bowman Charlotte Roval.
Yeah, not usually the way you'd go into the Wall of Champions. Not necessarily scrubbing off time either.
Nope.
No, that one, even virtually, that one hurt.
Yeah, and he still has yet to put in a full lap here with just under 3.5 minutes to go.
Meanwhile, this guy's gone and bettered his best lap.
Yeah, now Sexton 3/10 back, Ireland 4, Kalenian 1.1 back.
Yeah, again, we've said before, there's levels to this. And, when we've seen the dominance of Bradley Sexton so far, but...
Ooh,
man, someone was running the ragged edge there.
wow.
Okay.
300ths ahead of Sears now.
Let's see some 19s, boys.
I have no doubt Sexton or Sears might be able to pull that off here within these final 2.5 minutes. We, again, as you said earlier, we might have yet another 499 racing showdown.
I mean, it certainly seems that way so far. Now, almost half a second clearing those two from third place Jared Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
And realistically, if you're in pit lane right now, you're probably looking at only one more shot to get a lap in.
Yeah, now under 2 minutes to go. Bryce Fontaine and Mike Marini swap between 8th and 9th. I'm looking at some of my TrackCams22.com cameras that I have here. And some interesting choices. We have 1991 F1. I've got modern F1. I've got F1 2022. Grid pole, speed cam, random TV.
If there's not a groundhog handheld, I don't want it.
Oh. Unfortunately, no.
Yeah. It's in the logo for the race. That's more than enough.
Yeah, exactly. So now approaching the final minute here of this 15-minute qualifying session for the first annual Circuit Gilles Villeneuve 100 presented by Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue. Still Bradley Sexton up here at the top as there's somebody stopped in the grass there.
Yikes. And yeah, nice late entry into the hairpin for Sexton. That got him the clearance to build up the speed where I was perhaps alluding to Sears being a little slow in that hairpin before. Nice wide entry into it. Gave him the best line to get out in Sexton's case. And yeah, we'll see what kind of a last stand the 21 can put up.
Off for the Wall of Champions corner and to the line. Not able to.
Very much an in lap that time, but maybe this is another push lap to end it.
Ooh, Kyle Knoll jumps up to 7th after I believe he didn't even have a lap up.
Okay, there you go.
So Sexton, Kalenian, Hertel, MacAulay. Oh boy.
Yikes.
Oh!
Whoa!
Now Kalenian with trouble off of the Wall of Champions.
Well, I wonder if there was hesitation after seeing that car kind of beached up following the Wall of Champions.
So yeah, as I said, that was more than likely the in-lap there for Bradley Sexton, so we're going to see if he comes around here and tries to beat his 120. He is on the pole nonetheless. It's just a matter of if he can try and maybe pull off a little bit of a cool lap here ahead of trying to stay undefeated in the Mario Andretti Cup. He's going to come to the line, and...
I mean, he was in full-on victory mode, so I'm going to say no. Although, Had he not done that, he might have come close because that was a 20.2. 120.2, that is.
Still solid nonetheless.
Yeah, it would have been second place if he hadn't put a faster lap up.
Oh, boy.
Yes.
Darcy Ford. Oh, man.
I was going to say, the paint job reminded me kind of Mystery Machine-like, but I would say it's beyond recognizable now.
Yeah, that whole right side is demolished.
Yikes. Yeah, just kind of clipped that same curve we saw Noel hit earlier, and yeah, once you're up, you're going straight. You're a passenger.
Oh. Okay, this makes sense why a certain somebody requested us to introduce everybody this way.
Uh-huh.
It's all the way on the other side of the racetrack.
Okay, yeah, that's a touch on the odd side. Although I think I have seen this before. Just can't remember where. Oh, it might have been I think it might have been a GT7 online race that I was in that did this.
Oops.
No worries.
So, with all that being said, I think it only makes perfect sense here for us to just introduce everybody here as they're lined up, and then everybody can go green almost immediately, so that doesn't mess around with this potential fuel situation here. We'll just do the same thing we did back at Pocono last week. And right after this, I'll then quickly go into the voice chat and give these guys the most famous words in motorsports and give them the yes to fire the engines up, and we'll go racing for 37 laps and 100 miles. I believe everybody is lined up here. We're just going to get this done and over with. Anyway, so the starting lineup for the first annual Circuit Gilles Villeneuve 100 presented by Kyle's Fried Chicken and a barbecue. Starting on the front row, it's a 499 Racing. Row number 1, starting on the pole, is the driver of the number 21 499 Racing Dollar IR18 at Fishers, Indiana, looking to remain undefeated in the Mario Andretti Cup. It is Bradley Sexton. And then to his outside is the driver of the number 32 499 Racing IR18 out of Charlottesville, Virginia, looking for his first win on the season. The number 32 of Charlie Sears will start in the second position. Moving on to row number 2, the driver of the number of the 00 out of Salisbury, North Carolina. Excuse me, that's the 4th place driver. That's Jordan Kalenian. Third place is actually the driver of the number 13 Central Flyaway Racing car to Colby, Kansas. That is Jared Ireland. Both of these two drivers looking for their first win of the season.
One guy who isn't looking for his first win, however, is our Texas winner, Andy Hertel, the number 7 519 E-Racing entry out of Dayton, Ohio, starts 5th, and he's got Corbin MacAulay for company. MacAulay Motorsports fair for a team for the number 17 there, sir?
MacAulay Racing.
Thank you. He starts 6th. And we move on to row 4 now, where after that late lap, Kyle Knoll in the Storm Surge Esports number 15 out of Middlesex, North Carolina, starts in 7th. And, we're glad to see, the southern part of the states are okay after all the hurricanes. Mm-hmm. And we go to the number 77 of Hunter Young out of St. Catharines, Ontario. He'll start this one in 8th.
Rounding at the top 10, row number 5, the driver of the number 1 Tornado Alley E-Racing IR18 out of Atlanta, Georgia. That is C.D. Magram. To the side of him in 10th place is the driver of the number 22 Hyperdrive Esports IR18 out of Laverne, Tennessee, looking to add another win to the Hyperdrive Esports team after William Kern got his first win last week at Pocono. It is Bryce Fontaine. Moving on to row number 6, where we have a pair of Canadians. The driver of the number 12 out of Thunder Bay, Ontario, is Mike Marini. And then to the side of him is the driver of the number 64 519E Racing IR18 out of Harrington, Prince Edward Island. Your 2022 championship runner-up is Darcy Ford.
All right, starting in 13th, we'll invert the numbers here to find the 31 for Hyperdrive Esports. Last week's winner, of course, William Kern, will start 13th. And he's got the number 97 Tornado Alley Racing entry of Ty Higginbotham out of, as of this week, Kansas City, Missouri, starts 14th. And on our back row, we have the number 80 First Gear Racing entry of Mark Ouellette out of Pefferlaw, Ontario, starting 15th. And he's got a teammate in Jason Heaney out of Altoona, Wisconsin. The number 9 will round out the field in 16th.
So perhaps First Gear Racing might be trying to possibly take advantage of some early race cartage here, eh?
Yeah, it could be. Or else they're just friends or fans of the TV show Friends and just don't want to get stuck in second gear.
That too. And
Bit of a deep cut.
And so with all that being said, it's now time for me to go into iRacing race control here, give these guys the most famous words in motorsports, and we'll get these engines fired up for 37 laps and 100 miles here. Our first ever race in the IndyCar Series at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Stay tuned. I ever so slightly showed once again that William Kern won at Pocono.
Maybe that's a harbinger of things to come.
Who knows? He's starting all the way back in 13th, so maybe he has a run for the ages coming up.
I mean, wouldn't be unheard of.
Nope. Certainly has to improve on the road and street courses compared to the ovals, but again, he has shown flashes of brilliance here early in Season 3 of the IndyCar Series. Can he give Hyperdrive Esports their second win of the season? Could Bryce Fountaine be the next driver on that team to go to victory lane here?
Well, I mean, again, you look at the road courses that we've seen this year, like Barber and Zandvoort, they've both had significant twists and turns. Long Beach is tight as anything. This is, relatively a bit of a break by comparison. Like, again, there are some high-speed sections that can catch guys out, but for the most part, relatively flat circuit and not overly hot today. If we look at our Apgineering updates, I believe our track temperature is somewhere in the high 70s, low 80s. 80 right on the dot for our folks in Freedom units. And, air temperature 21. Really fairly comfortable day for racing, it has to be said.
Indeed. So 37 laps, 100 miles. Pit road speed is 50 miles per hour. Fuel window is 17 to 18 laps. Available tire compounds are primaries and alternates. Push to pass is back 200 seconds per driver. And so, with all that being said, off the final corner to the green flag. Let's go racing in Montreal, Canada.
And interesting line from Sexton. No one really went with him on the inside. Everyone kind of stayed on the outside of the Wall of Champions. And I was about to say it wasn't working out too bad, but maybe a little bit of early carnage.
That's the number 17 of Corbin MacAulay that might have had an issue there going through the first couple of corners. One car through the grass. That's Mike Marini. He's going to drop back.
Yeah,
Get back on the surface.
I was thinking Darcy Ford might have locked up behind them as well, but it looks like it worked out for the 64.
Oh, spinner! It's Kalenian.
Oh, boy. And let's just see if he can rejoin safely here.
Kyle Knoll around two.
Man, oh man.
Multiple spinners and cars with problems on lap number 1.
Yikes. I don't know what North Carolina ever did to Montreal, but we just saw 2 of their guys spin out within meters of each other.
So casualties of turns number 8 and 9 there were a couple of guys as Sexton, who else, is going to lead lap number 1.
Yeah, but I mean, again, it's only 6/10, it has to be said. Not the immediate runaway that we've seen, well, in the first 2 weeks anyway. Zandvoort, it obviously took a recovery drive for him to get back to where he was kind of accustomed to being. But, you know what? I'll call that a relatively average start, we'll say.
MacAulay got past Fontaine. For turns 1 and 2. Now charging after C.D. Magram, who's right in behind Hunter Young. An impressive start for here from Hunter Young so far. He started 8th. He's up to 4th.
And even the 8th was kind of sneaky for the 77. And yes, he's benefited from Kalenian and Knoll going around and MacAulay earlier, but still, you got to be there to get the position.
Hunter Young! Oh, and he's hit by Darcy Ford.
I was literally saying you have to be there to get the position. He was in the absolute wrong place for a number of guys. I wonder if he was caught out of... Looked like he was caught out of 9 again there, perhaps?
Oh, Hunter Young taking it wide as well.
Well,
after what happened with Ford, I mean, it makes sense.
I was going to say, what control would he have going into the hairpin?
And you were saying this was going to be... This was going to be comfortable, in a way?
Let them... I was going to say, I'm rather surprised by a lot of this. Now, interesting question in all of this, but it absolutely does nothing for my theory. I was wondering if maybe it was guys who were on the white wall tires who were having problems as opposed to the red walls. But it looks like there's a bit of a mix of both, so that's very much not the problem.
Here's a replay of what happened to the 77 of Young. He just lost it. He did save it until bam.
Oh, man.
On board with Ford.
Yeah, just a bit of hard luck there, it has to be said. Oh, just enough to nick that front left. Although it magically came back for a second. Oh wait, did Ford come in?
I am unsure.
Well, he's still showing as 9th.
Trying to go back to the first lap here to catch some of this stuff. Yeah, MacAulay went a little too quick into the first corner, had to come back out on the grass.
Yeah, that's tough sledding there, it has to be said.
And then I think it was Knoll that had problems somewhere coming up here.
Yeah, because this is, like, I think Kalenian has something happen right before him. Or are we looking maybe another lap into the future?
No, this is on the first lap still.
Okay, so, yeah, lap 1. Yeah, Kalenian, there he goes. And then Knoll
took a hop.
Just, yeah, maybe too aggressive on those curbs. I mean, we saw that when he went into the Wall of Champions as well during qualifying. So maybe just needs to back it up a skosh, does the 15.
Ford never went down pit road. He's still in 9th at the moment. Sexton and Sears are separated by just that much on the screen.
Okay, so I wonder, like, because we clearly saw Fords on board that saw the front left going sideways, but I wonder if it was a netcode thing where it just magically came back.
Well, see, that is the thing. You saw Ford's left front. It hit, it quote-unquote hit Young, and then you started seeing it wobbling, but then all of a sudden it was right back to normal.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I'm wondering if maybe it was a netcode thing as much as anything else.
And so Young in his pit box right now, 2 laps down, 2.5 minutes in there at the moment, as Sexton and Sears have they have shot away like a cannon. 5 seconds separating those two, and Ireland in third.
Well, I mean, they got away from all the carnage happening behind them, so you know, fair play to those two. Very familiar playbook.
Andy Hertel and Ty Higginbottom playing it pretty close here as they are approaching turns number 8 and 9.
The boys, they are getting a little spicy.
C'est la vie.
I saw your green screen background for the record.
It's just showing off the greatest hockey goaltender of all time. That's all. Ooh, Higginbottom just tapped the ball.
Boy.
Magrum, Higginbottom, multiple cars using push the pass. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, usually, again, it's the wall of champions that you want to be tapping if you want to maximize every ounce of speed. But look at this run down the Casino Straight. Had to be a solid 8.
Oh, no! Magrum hard into the wall of champions. Darcy Ford also around.
Oh, Mangrum's without a front wing.
That looked like a heavy hit for the Atlanta, Georgia driver.
I'm wondering if, again, he just clipped that curb hard, 12 into 13. Same thing we saw Kyle Knoll do. Because, yeah, here's Magrum at the front of the line. And, no, just straight up lost it.
And then Ford. There we go. He did about the same thing, except without a hop, I believe. Then he gets it right back around and keeps going. He's been through a lot tonight.
Yeah, no kidding. Especially in that very turn. Or very chicane, I should say.
Young's still in his box now, over 4.5 minutes in. Kyle Knoll gets past Jason Heaney back in 13th. Over 6.5 seconds now separated between the top two and Ireland in third. Higginbottom using push to pass back there. CD Magrum dropping back, of course, again without the front wing.
Yeah, that could be, I said it a couple of weeks ago when I was last on air, like, it feels like this guy just has absolutely no luck this particular season. Just everything bad that could happen has happened to him so far over the course of this year, and it's funny that that's happening after, you know, celebrating the consistency that he had in the NASCAR series. Because, like, it's not for a lack of pace for the number one. It's just, you know, wrong place, wrong time in a lot of instances.
Indeed. So Magrum now heads to pit road to fix that front damage. And I'm just going to say right now, man, oh man, has it ever been a rough going for him so far this season. I mean, finishes a 17th, 3rd, and 11th on road and street courses so far. Again, he did get that podium finish back at Long Beach, but other than that, hasn't been able to finish inside the top 10. And here tonight, look at that, another race with bad luck.
Yeah, like I said, if he didn't have bad luck, he'd have no luck at all.
I think Kalenian just got by Fontaine for the 8th position. Meanwhile, these two guys just keep putting on a clinic up front.
Yeah, I mean, it's them and everybody else, it would appear.
And with everything that's been happening to everybody else throughout this field, it's just a matter of now, are any of these guys going to run into trouble on their own?
Well, that's just it. Like, part of being able to be successful is, in fact, staying out of trouble. So these guys, they're going to play it fairly easy with each other. I mean, half a second, give or take, is what's been separating them the majority of the race. And yeah, we'll see if it comes down to maybe some sort of a strategy call later on. But right now, it's looking pretty comfortable here for these two.
They're going to go and lap Mark Ouellette.
Yeah, and there's Ouellette getting out of the way on the straight. Nice, sensible, safe spot to make that happen.
Ahead of that corner.
Yeah.
So now coming to lap number 9 of 37. Somebody in the background almost had a big hop there through the wall of Champions Corner as Sexton and Sears continue to go at it here for the lead. One driver has remained undefeated, as we've said multiple times here in the Mario Andretti Cup. The other guy still has yet to pick up a win here. It hasn't necessarily been a quote-unquote championship slump per se. Again, last season, Sears wasn't exactly dominant. It was Dylan Baum that was the dominant driver. But as the second half started to approach, that's when Sears started to pick up his game, and he dominated the second half en route to becoming the next Canadian E-Motorsports Network IndyCar Series, or Dart Series at the time, champion. Yep. So, again, there's still time for him to pick things up. It's still very early on here in Season 3. He's got plenty of time to make things happen. But, of course, at the same time, too, with someone like Sexton ahead of him, and then being teammates, as Sears, I believe, just took it wide there out of the hairpin. Like, again, it's your teammate. You're both doing pretty well for your team, but then when it comes down to the final lap, and if these two guys are still together, it might become a matter of just, okay, we're not teammates anymore, we're going for it, I haven't won yet this season, I need to get into victory lane, you've been there enough.
Yeah, they're racers first and foremost, so that's fully how I would expect that to go down if we do wind up in a bit of a drag race situation at the end, shall we say. Because I highly doubt that either of these guys would go for the...
Oh!
Yikes.
Marini goes around, entering the hairpin. Keep going with what you were saying.
I was going to say, I highly doubt either one of those guys pulls off the Schumacher-Barrichello finish at Indy from about 20-ish years ago, where they tried to match the time at the line.
Higginbottom to pit road.
Okay. I wonder, well, obviously this means it's a two-stop strategy for the 97, unless he encountered some sort of a problem that we didn't know about, but that was a pretty quick stop.
Higginbottom comes off a pit road. He's 13th right now. Last car on the lead lap. Ouellette is a lap down. Magrum is 3 laps down at the moment. He's still been stuck in his pit box. Hunter Young had a 6-minute stop. He is out on the track, not out of the race. He's 5 laps down in 16th. Shotgun on the field. Sexton's starting to separate himself and Sears just a little bit more now on lap 11, excuse me, of 37, so he continues to lead the way. Of course, been all green here thus far. I mean, this entire race is going to be green anyways, as I was talking about the caution thing earlier with how iRacing goes with it on road and street courses. Of course, Sexton has the fastest lap of a 1:21.155 on lap 2. Partly cloudy skies. Track temperature is 27 degrees Celsius at the moment. Wind speed is 14 kilometers per hour. Humidity, not much.
Yeah, like I said, fairly ideal race conditions all the way around.
I think Sears might have been inches from tapping the wall there.
Just looking to extract any ounce of speed that he can, and it looks like he's pulled up right on him in the hairpin, as that gap's back down to half a second.
And let's also note as well the tire compounds between all these guys here. Top 4 are all on alternates, so Sexton and Sears in particular are on alternates. Hertel, Kern, Fontaine, Heaney, Higginbottom are all on primaries.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, this track hasn't discriminated in terms of who's been using what tires, in terms of who's had problems tonight as well. Equal opportunity offender.
multiple drivers here using push to pass. I think that's Ford right there trying to get away from Knoll, but also trying to... I was going to say gain distance on Fontaine, but they're separated by 8 seconds. Fontaine, on the other hand, right now is starting to approach his teammate. Last week's winner, right about on the right rear. Going through Virage.
I mean, decent start here for Kern. We were talking about him needing something of a miracle drive to get back into contention this week after winning last week, of course. And, you know, again, started 13th. He's made it just about halfway there.
Indeed he is. Could very well be in maybe for a top 5 finish if everything goes according to plan. But then on the downside, that would have to have guys like Andy Hertel deal with issues and bit of a ghost moment.
Yep. I mean, almost like you tried to speak it into existence or something.
So looking here in our chat, Tom Janikowski says, hello, good to see you here. Stephen Ellis says, go 499. I mean, who else would you be going for?
Oh, they've been going.
Yes, they have been certainly going up front. Yes, that's another way to use the words going. CD says, tough time. Yes.
Yep, we've seen that.
So half a second between the 21 and the 32, lap 13 and 37. So a couple laps away here, I imagine, from this fuel window. Again, we did see at a tie Higginbottom. Maybe he is trying to pull off an interesting strategy here. Because, again, with that fuel window, depending on the strategies that these drivers try to pull off, there could be some guys that could be about a lap or two or so short of making it to the checker flag. But then again, though, there could be some guys that might be just fine if they're able to capitalize with possibly pitting twice here, which Higginbottom, as we were talking about earlier, could be doing something here for a 2-stop call.
I mean, he pitted on lap 10, so he would have to be. But, yeah, the other thought, and again, this was presented by one of the drivers, like, again, if you do deploy the 2-stop route, that's, you know, compared to the 1-stop strategy, that's one less time that you have to go through that opening corner complex sequence, which can be rather complex at times. So just pretty much turning it into a straight from the re-entry off the pit lane. So it might be like a 1,000 IQ level idea if it works.
Kyle Knoll just got by Darcy Ford for 9th as Corbin MacAulay went to pit road. And he is going to the primaries, so maybe he's pulling off a strategy here.
Yeah, unless there's something that's being kind of told in the pit windows of the drivers that we're unaware of.
That too.
Because, again, we originally had the window in the 17 to 18 range. We got replay of somebody going straight through. Yes,
yeah, that was Kyle Knoll, who I believe had to give up his position to Ford, who's now back ahead of him. Knoll was using the push to pass to get by Ford, and that was... Oh, boy!
Yikes.
MacAulay is around and in the wall.
Oh, boy. We might have to take another look at that. That looks like it was around 6 and 7, I believe. No, this is off the long straight, so that's into 8 and 9. Yeah, just clipped the curb.
Oh, man.
Yeah, like if you look again, inside of the front left just clips the outside of the curb, and that's ultimately, I think, what got him started turning and rotating in that direction, right about there. And
jeez,
yeah,
what a hit.
Sliding at that point, and that's roughly, I think that's where Knoll went off too, or Young went off, excuse me.
Yeah, Young and Ford had their contact, yes. And that is not going to be good, especially in both the Greg Moore Cup and the Mario Andretti Cup points, because at the moment, MacAulay's tied for 6th with Darcy Ford. And then in the Mario Andretti Cup, he's currently in 4th.
And the thing about that chicane, you're not necessarily scrubbing off a ton of speed as you're making your way through it. So if something happens there, like, there really isn't a ton of reaction time to be had in order to make a correction, or in that case, maybe an attempt at an overcorrection. So yeah, once something happens, it's almost brace for impact there, and that would be one of the tighter spots you would see on the circuit. And we'll actually get a good bird's eye view of it here through Charlie Sears. Because yeah, that's roughly, I'd say, where the walls are about at their tightest here on Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
So, I mean, this will be a no crap Sherlock comment, but yes, Corbin MacAulay is out of the CGV 100 presented by Kyle's Fried Chicken Barbecue. Again, no crap, but regardless, still very unfortunate for the number 17 MacAulay Racing IR18 at a Charlottetown PEI. Magram and Hung still remaining here in this at the moment.
That one's, it's a little bit interesting. Maybe the damage is much worse than we would have seen initially, but I mean, we're with Hunter Young right now. He came back after a similar incident in a similar part of the track. So unless, again, something happened that was just purely terminal, like, it's a little bit curious, but I'm sure, well, obviously the driver's going to know more than either of us will.
I mean, compared to what happened with Young and Ford, he hit pretty hard. He had all 4 wheels up in the air. Like, that was basically almost the esque of Darcy Ford's accident during qualifying. So I wouldn't have much confidence there. Maybe he'll be able to get back into the race somehow by some miracle, like way later on. But
well, no, I see, as I look in the optioneering screen, I see the infamous question mark under his tire choice. So okay, that's usually the harbinger that someone has retired.
Yeah, that does make sense there, as Jared Ireland just came down pit road here on lap 17.
So this is roughly the window we were expecting. Starting to open up right about now.
Sexton and Sears continue to have a somewhat close bubble in between them, 7/10 separating them, while Hertel is 37 seconds back.
I mean, 2 guys came to Canada. It feels like most of them are close to the U.S. border here. Like, this is just another runaway.
Yeah, basically. And there was a fact that I did forget to mention earlier, too. With last year having been our first Canada race in the IndyCar Series, or Dart course, last year, obviously we're going to have a new winner in Canada, as Dylan Baum won a Canadian Tire Motorsport Park last year. So, of course, we're going to obviously have a first time winner here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, but we're also going to have another new winner here in Canada, as Sears was right about on the back of Sexton right there, coming through the hairpin. Now with 20 laps to go.
Yeah, just might have found a decent line coming out of there, and decent line coming out through the Wall of Champions there again as well. But the straight line speed, clearly the advantage is with the 21.
Indeed it is, as they are about to lap Mike Marini. As Ireland gets ahead of Kalenian going into the hairpin.
Yeah, that's not a bad place to do it. Throw a little bit of a late break on.
It's got a Bass Pro Shops, and I think I read Black Rifle something on his livery.
Yeah, I mean, usually those two things would go pretty well together. As I was gonna say, did we see Kalenian come in? We did.
Yes, Kalenian down pit road.
In the midst of, I think someone else went through the chicane. We, again, happened to see Kalenian make the move to go into pit lane.
Kyle Knoll joins Kalenian. So Kalenian going to the primary compound. 9.62 pit stop time. Knoll with a 9.63. Knoll now on the primary says, oh boy, here's your top two.
All right, go time here. And they were able to stretch it a couple laps longer than we thought. So if they were able to do that, I would suggest that probably the one-stop strategy could work out.
Yep, it's going to really come down to the wire here as we come to the checker flag. Still got about half a race or so here to see how things are going to play out as Sexton and Sears continue to remain in their little bubble. Andy Hertel makes his way down pit road.
Yeah, pitting from fourth. I mean, the fact that Sexton and Sears, well, I guess the lion's share of the field would have already pitted before those two anyway. But I was going to say, the fact that those two pitted and came back in 1 and 2 again, man, oh man, something to be said for that.
Darcy Ford, 13.4 pit stop time.
And I think Sears might have had a little bit of a slow stop too. He was using a fair bit of push to pass to try and get himself back beneath a second of Sexton.
Yeah, Sexton had 9.4, Sears had 9.5. The entire top 5 now on the primary compound.
But again, it looks like kind of a similar story here. These two looking fairly comfortable. Kind of running their own race in a way.
You know, there's a bunch of different ways you could put it here. A clinic, their own race.
Meanwhile, both hyperdrive guys come in together.
Yep, Kern and Fontaine both down pit road with 17 laps to go.
Okay, so again, little past the halfway point. Let's just see. Yeah, surprisingly, one Mark Ouellette is the last guy who's yet to come in.
Yes, he is.
Now, yes, 2 laps down might be the caveat there, but he's still lasting maybe a little bit longer than the initial pit window expectation happened, and as I speak, there he goes.
So Mark Ouellette going to complete everybody here coming down pit road. So these stints are quite interesting. Sexton, Sears at 2, Ireland's at 4, Andy Hertel is at 1, Kalenian 2, Higginbottom at 11. Again, we'll obviously have to keep an eye on him in terms of all the strategies that are going to come out to play here within the closing laps of the CGV 100. Presented by Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue. Kern and Fontaine obviously just came down pit road. Knowles at 2, Ford 1, Heaney 2, Marini at 1 again. Obviously, though, Heaney, Marini, and a bunch of other guys in behind are one or multiple laps down. Darcy Ford, the last car on the lead lap, in 10th.
Yep.
Kern and Fontaine are back together here for a battle for 7th. Sexton, Sears still going after the race lead. And as you were mentioning, Sears using some push to pass here to try and stay close to Sexton. Sexton hasn't used any push to pass all race. I mean, I guess it makes sense being in his lead.
Yeah, and I mean, like, yeah, Charlie Sears has been there, but like, there hasn't really been a full-on attempt at a move, so to speak. So Sexton hasn't really needed to deploy it.
And so as these guys continue to wound down into the final laps here of this first annual CGV 100 presented by Kyle's Fried Chicken Barbecue, we might as well give a special thanks and shout out to the following sponsors and partners for supporting the Canadian E-Motorsports Network. Of course, without you, we wouldn't be able to be doing this every single Tuesday night here on iRacing. So, of course, with yet another mention, Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue, Rampage Coffee Co., Piping Kettle Soup, Forked River Brewing Company, Bangarang Hard Seltzer, Nordic Aluminum, GSGSG Vinyl 3D, GTR, and of course, these camera angles that you're seeing here on the broadcast, they've been on here ever since last year, ever since we transitioned to the iRacing platform. TrackCams22.com, thank you very much for letting us use your incredible broadcast cameras that really help to enhance the look that we have here within the Canadian E-Motorsports Network and broadcasting these races and showcasing some of the top talents in sim racing from Canada and the United States. Now 14 laps to go. The gap has shrunk here between Sexton and Sears, 3 to 4 tenths-ish or so now separating them.
Man, there's some corners here where it just looks like they're coming out and fast forward. I don't know if it's just my eyes that are throwing me off or it's just the pure speed that these two have. But it's something to behold.
I mean, on the leaderboard I have here, there is all the I ratings and all the licenses and such for all these guys, and they're both entirely in a completely different universe compared to all these other guys. Not saying, again, that's not trying to put down all these other guys, of course, because Sexton and Sears, as we all know, I was going to try and continue talking there. Sears is going to go for the lead using push to pass, I believe, and he finally creates a lead change here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. New leader, your reigning series champion, Charlie Sears. As I was saying about the iRating stuff too, Sears and Sexton, they're consistently going at here on iRacing. They actually participate in other leagues and I assume in open races and such as well. I mean, we all know about Sears, obviously, with his professional license. I'm not certain if Sexton has one either, but he's certainly up there. Meanwhile, everybody else, it's a whole plethora of drivers. There's a bunch of diversity around there. There's some guys that will compete in league races and open races. Some guys just prefer to stick to league racing, which personally I completely understand, because some official races that count towards iRating, safety rating, all that, blah, blah, blah. It's self-explanatory if you know. If you know, you know, basically.
I mean, we're getting close to Halloween here, but those official races, I mean, you hear the horror stories, that's when them freaks come out.
Oh, yeah.
And, okay, decent teammate battle here.
Yeah, there's teammate battles going on up front and also mid-pack, midfield. Mid-pack is not the way to put that.
They knew what you meant.
That'll be a different story next week when we go racing at Michigan International Speedway, of course, Tuesday, October 22nd, the next round, third round for the AJ Foy Cup, the Oval Championship. It's going to be the Forked River 200, and there's already been plenty of talks from drivers suspecting what's going to happen that day, and there are two ways I'll put it. One is everybody's going to be sticking together more than likely because it's pretty much full throttle racing through both turns 1 and 2. 3 and 4, I mean, drafting speeds, it's going to be wild. And my second point is, hopefully nobody does a Dario Franchitti.
Yeah, I mean, if we've seen anything or any indication from Texas and Pocono so far, like, I think it's probably going to go in the first direction. And that can only be positive for, the lion's share of the field, because obviously if everyone sticks together, better chance of making something happen. Speaking of making something happen, it looks like Sears might be trying to defend using push to pass, if I'm guessing, or trying to build a gap.
Yeah, trying to build the gap there using his push to pass. Sexton has yet to fully enforce it. Maybe he's going to go all out. Maybe if these two are together entering the closing laps and they are able to make it back to the end, then Sexton might literally end up using all of his push to pass seconds in the world. What in the...
Friggin' trees, this isn't Hockenheim.
I think we might have had another Hunter Young problem, or... Okay, no, he was just coming down pit road and I saw smoke.
Maybe just a lockup at the line?
Oh!
Okay.
Something did happen.
To say it wasn't the pace car's fault, even though it was there.
Well, eyewitness.
Yep.
Ouch.
I mean, he could have been like Lewis Hamilton. He just needed a Raikkonen there in front of him.
So about a second or so now separated between the 32 and the 21. Charlie Sears, the reigning series champion, looking for his first win of Season 3. Took the lead just a couple laps ago. Oh, man, did he ever have a loose final corner there.
Yeah, that's going to bring Sexton right back into play, you'd have to think.
And Sears, yeah, Sears just used some push to pass just to get away from him, too, down the front stretch.
Oh. Meanwhile, do we have an issue involving one Ty Higginbotham, perhaps? Did you see that message?
I just did, yes.
Ooh. And yeah, that could be, well, it will be a rather catastrophic incident here. Potentially time to get back on track, but the damage will have been done.
Aww. So the number 97 Boulevard Brewing, I believe, Tornado Alley E Racing IR18 at Kansas City, Missouri, apparently has multiple minutes of repairs, assuming they're required. So, very unfortunate there is, ooh, Jared Ireland down pit road.
He was one of the early guys to pit before, so yeah, that would be kind of falling in line with the two-stop strategy, which Higginbotham would have been the first to kind of enact, if not for his recent misfortunes.
Yes, sir. Sears used a bit of push to pass there just a couple seconds ago, as now we have 9 laps remaining in the first annual CGV 100 presented by Cos Fried Chicken and Barbecue. So within the next couple of laps or so, we're really going to see how this is all going to play out here strategy-wise. Now everybody's going to try to put together the fuel and tires properly.
Yeah, 9 laps to go, but only 14 cars to contest them, as I believe Hunter Young is on his way to a retire. Actually, it does say out on your leaderboard.
Yes, so Young joins MacAulay in DNF territory there. 14 cars remain here within the server. CD Magram back there in 14. Last car remaining here. 5 laps down. 9 cars are left on the lead lap. Darcy Ford at the tail end of that crop, as Charlie Sears is just coming out of the hairpin along with Bradley Sexton. A second in between them at the moment, coming to 8 laps to go. As, oh boy, yeah, those two are going after the lead. And then there's a battle up here for the 8th position as Darcy Ford's starting to catch back up to Kyle Knoll. And he's going to go for it.
And both of those guys have had Wall of Champions adventures tonight, but they've made it through safely. Yikes.
Knoll might have been playing it aggressive there, trying to block Ford. Ford might have panicked a little.
Oh, he was wobbling all over the place there. Couldn't get a clean entry into one.
How is this going to affect the leaders?
Well, it's a rather tight part of the circuit to have this happen right in front of you, so got to be on your game here if you're Sears and Sexton.
Riding on board with the number 21 Sparco IR18. As those two begin to catch the guys battling midfield.
And depending on how they kind of form themselves going into the casino straight, might be an opportunity for Sexton to try and reclaim the lead here, although I think Ford might be moving out of the way.
Yeah, I was wondering because Ford was starting to kind of fall back behind Noel there, so he's going to go a lap down. Noel eventually will, as Sears using some push to pass here to get away from Sexton, coming to 7 laps to go.
Smart move there from Sears. I don't know if it was necessarily the cleanest kind of passing through there from Bradley Sexton on Darcy Ford. Like, nothing malicious or anything like that. That's not the Darcy Ford game plan.
No.
Just I don't know if Sexton was on the throttle quite quick enough, and that could have given Sears an opportunity to try and build something up, but we're back under half a second now.
So both Sears and Sexton, just to point it out, both are at stints of 11 laps since they last pitted, and there's 7 laps to go, so this could be close at the end.
It could. I mean, they came in together.
Yes.
Yep, and it was lap, well, I guess process of elimination would put that at 20 when they came in, so that would have defied our previous 17 to 18 range, so I don't necessarily think there's anything to worry about, apart from maybe lap traffic. But in terms of actual mileage to get to the end, I think they're probably going to be okay, quite honestly.
Sexton has finally started to use some push to pass here. Sears has 98 seconds left. Sexton at 196.
So literally double.
Basically.
And I mean, 196, that's, 2.5 laps, give or take, worth of push to pass. And when you've got 6 to go, that's a bit of an awkward rejoin.
Yeah, you had to wait for traffic to get out of the way. I don't blame him.
I know, but at the same time, still a bit of an awkward spot.
Yeah, especially if someone were to go wide and suddenly make contact there. With him now 6 laps to go for the 499 Racing drivers, Charlie Sears and Bradley Sexton. This could get good.
I mean, I think it's been good all night, but I think it could get a little spicier.
See, that's the thing. They have obviously been close. Like, Sears was right on the back end of Sexton at one point, eventually passed him for the lead. But in terms of a battle back and forth here, we might see these guys kind of swap and maybe for the lead, perhaps. Like, it's been kind of a bit of a waiting game. Like, there's a bit of patience here for, like, an actual battle to start happening. Like, obviously, these two have been consistently close, but actually, like, going for it, being fully aggressive and, like, push to pass going back and forth, like, we still have yet to have that begin to happen, but I can only imagine we're starting to close in on that point.
We are, but I think what we're also seeing tonight is the full potential of Charlie Sears, or something close to it.
Yes.
Because, yeah, he's got the second place finishes at Barber and Zandvoort. There were still 20-second gaps to Bradley Sexton. This is a whole different ball game here. You are not getting that tonight. This is head-to-head, folks.
Like, we're finally getting, like, a battle.
Yeah.
Like, again, Sexton did have to deal with some adversity back at Zandvoort, but he still shot away from the field, went on to win.
Yeah, like, it was a 20-ish second win based on half of the race. What would it have been had he gone flag to flag? Oh.
And the thing is, oh boy, Sears might have had a close call there. Exiting turn number 9, they're going into the hairpin now. And what I was going to say was, especially after what just happened there, if either of these guys make a mistake, that's going to be catastrophic.
Oh, without question.
Sexton using push to pass.
Yeah, and we'll see if Sears responds with a bit of defense down the main straight.
They're coming to 4 laps to go through the wall of Champions Corner now.
Yeah, Sears able to conserve it a little bit.
Now, the thing is that these two don't make a mistake up until the final lap, and assuming that they'll be good to get back to the checkered flag, I'm wondering if Sexton might be waiting here to suddenly come out of nowhere with something to happen, maybe down the casino straight, and we get one of those like real life battles, like last lap battles that we've seen of, for example, the NASCAR series. What was it? Boris said and Max Pappas, I think it was, that one year.
Yeah, I'd have to think about that one. I mean, obviously, when I think of Boris said, I think of like probably the worst trash talk I've ever heard. But I mean, he said many things. None of them really made sense. But we'll have to see what Sexton has up his sleeve here, especially with lap traffic coming into play again.
Yep, we all love Boris said.
Hammer.
We all love Boris said in his whatever he decides to put out of his mouth. There's both the top two there on push to pass. Now Charlie Sears using it to defend himself away from the 21. Now coming to 3 laps to go.
Yeah, you'd have to think though, like that Sexton's going to continue applying pressure here. How close are we to seeing Sears hit 0 on his gauge, knowing that Sexton has significantly more, or had significantly more?
Well, the 32 is 83 seconds remaining. Sexton's at 181. So
okay, so
Sexton could probably use all of the seconds in. Well, actually, you know what? Funny enough, or never mind, I was seeing something wrong there. Anyways, Sexton could use all the push to pass seconds in the world within these final like 2.5 laps if he wants to.
Yeah, he could push to pass literally all the way around the track. It'd be hilarious to see him try, but
that would be quite the feat to talk about.
Like, hypothetically, he could.
The thing is, too, that'd be a lot of speed through all the fast and complex corners, too, so he'd have to really be smart with it, as both these guys are going to use it down the casino straight. They'll be coming to 2 laps to go. It's not a matter of if, it's when Sexton decides to pull off a move here. But can Sears hang on, though?
Well, that's the thing. If they're both using push to pass, that's kind of a neutralizer here for Sears. So, you know, Sexton, he's got to be chomping at the bit to try and get back ahead of the 32. So, it might have to take a lunge somewhere.
Oh, Sears about went wide there. Sexton wasn't able to get enough of a good exit there, but still in behind the 32. And if these two were to somehow get together, Jared Ireland is 54 seconds back. So, just saying.
Cool, yeah. Suddenly, brand new race.
Oh, Sears might have screwed up. Here comes Sexton.
I was going to say, Sexton got a fantastic exit out of that chicane. He's going to have the inside line here.
Sears off the track.
Yeah, Sears had position, though, I believe. Is he going to have to concede that?
He will.
There it is. You were talking about guys getting forced into mistakes, and, you know, Charlie Sears, he held on as long as he could, but ultimately goes through the grass, and our pole sitter is back at the head of the field. And he's
Sears
about to see a white flag.
Sears has 56 push-to-pass seconds remaining. He still has time here to try and make something happen against Sexton as they come off the wall of Champions Corner to the white flag. Bradley Sexton just 1 lap away here from remaining undefeated in the Mario Andretti Cup, as he is almost now a second ahead of the 32.
And that was with Sears using push-to-pass on the start-finish straight, where Sexton wasn't.
So now, unless Sears can pull off a miracle here with his just limited push-to-pass seconds remaining, it's either he pulls off a miracle or Sexton makes a catastrophic mistake here at some point to the checker flag.
I would suggest it would probably have to be the latter more than the former. I don't know if Sears has the raw speed to get back to the back of the 21. Yeah, they're already through 8 and 9.
Again, never say never. They still have the hairpin, the Casino Straight, and the Wall of Champions to come through. Sexton rounds out off of the hairpin. He'll come down the Casino Straight for one final time. There's only one more corner left. Again, the Wall of Champions has seen many race leaders in the past in real life screw up and have second place take advantage. So one more corner for Sexton. As I believe Sears, yeah, he went over there. Unsuccessful. Car goes around behind them. And to the checker flag, he remains undefeated on the road and street courses. Bradley Sexton to victory lane again.
Yeah, but this one wasn't handed to him, though, was it?
Absolutely not.
I mean, the battle was there pretty well the entire night. And, Sears, I think that's the first second place he'd have to be disappointed with, to be quite frank with you. Like, yeah, the final margin of victory winds up being roughly 3.4 seconds, but that is not indicative of how tonight's battle at the head of the field went.
No, sir, as Jared Ireland, third place, still has to make his way to the checkered flag with the lap car of Mike Marini ahead of him. Ireland's going to keep it clean, not force anything against him. So Ireland's going to come around. He is going to collect a podium finish here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
And, I mean, well-deserved. Again, he did it on 2 stops, whereas Sexton and Sears got there on 1. So the initial worries or threats appear to have been somewhat exaggerated or managed properly by the 499 guys.
Andy Hertel rounds to a 4th place finish, and Jordan Kalenian is going to round out the top 5 as everybody else is going to finish a lap down by the looks of it. As Sexton and Sears coming down the Casino Straight. Man, oh man, of course, again, it's been an interesting dynamic on the road and street courses so far this season, where at Barber and Long Beach, it was pretty much all dominance out of Sexton, especially at Long Beach, leading every single lap. Zandvoort, he had to deal with some adversity. He came back around, used his resilience to dominate the latter half of the race, and then here in Montreal, he had Charlie Sears behind him the whole time. Sears eventually took the lead and tried to defend himself off of the 21, looking for his first win since his championship-winning season last year. And then a fatal mistake. Fatal mistake on the heading to the white flag causes Sexton to take advantage and to come on out a winner once again here on the road and street courses, and he is the first winner of the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve 100 presented by Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue.
And, I mean, a very impressive feat regardless, but my mind seems to be going back to a message I saw in our group chat. I believe he only bought this track on Thursday. So there's your learning curve for you for those who want to get to the high I rating. You just practice and figure it out however you possibly can.
There's your top 3 lined up at the start finish. That, not anymore.
Yeah, sure, why not?
There we go. There's your top 3, Sexton, Sears, and Ireland underneath the Napa Auto Parts flag stand and sign. Sure.
All right, now drop the groundhogs on them.
And then track goes kaboom.
Yep. Usually how it goes.
Indeed.
And that's purely scientific for those who might be wondering.
And so as Bradley Sexton celebrates on the front straightaway here for yet another win in Mario Andretti Cup competition, he'll extend his points lead in that championship and also in the season-long title run as well. Here are the unofficial results that we'll just get done and over with here ahead of talking with the number 21 again. He goes to victory lane here for the fourth time this season. Charlie Sears and Jared Ireland rounding out the podium. Once again, as I said earlier, Sears did pass Sexton eventually, tried using the push to pass to defend himself off of Sexton, and then fatal mistake in the closing laps. Sexton passes him, goes on to win. So yes, as you said, Jordy, Sears certainly might have that. It's one of those results now where he's going to be actually like a second place finish where he will truly be disappointed with that one. Jared Ireland once again rounding out the podium here, a solid run out of him. Andy Hertel, Jordan Kalenian round out the top 5 and the lead lap cars. Bryce Fontaine, William Kern, solid finishes out of the Hyperdrive E-Sports group. Kyle Knoll, Darcy Ford, and Jason Heaney finishing inside the top 10, and then the rest of the way, Mike Marini 1 lap down in 11th, Mark Ouellette 3 laps down 12th, C.D. Magrum, Ty Higginbottom 5 and 6 laps down respectively, Hunter Young DNF'd out of the race around the halfway mark or so, 17 laps down, and unfortunately Corbin MacAulay rounds out the entire field in 16th at 24 laps down with a hard hit through turns in between turns 8 and 9. And so that rounds out the field right there. And now we're going to have the post-race winner interview once again with the number 21 at Fishers, Indiana's Bradley Sexton. Jordy, you can go ahead and put together some questions on your end and feed them to me.
One step ahead.
Alrighty then.
Ciao later.
Bradley Sexton, it's Regan. You got a copy?
Yeah, Regan, I copy.
And you certainly do copy now for the fourth time within 6 weeks here within the 2024 Canadian E-Motorsports Network IndyCar Series powered by Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue. And speaking of Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue, you went on to win the CGV 100 presented by them here, the first ever race in Montreal, Quebec, Canada for the Canadian E-Motorsports Network IndyCar Series. And I just heard from Jordy here that apparently you had just bought the track last week. You didn't absolutely dominate that one. I mean, you led a lot of laps, but Charlie Sears was right there in behind you. He did take the lead from you eventually. And then fatal mistake occurred with him. You took advantage and you're able to still go on to get the win. Like, this one wasn't handed to you. It absolutely wasn't. But you still led a lot of laps. You still were able to get the lead back within the closing laps, and you got the job done once again. You're still undefeated in the Mario Andretti Cup. Just talk about the whole night and what it means to continue this undefeated streak.
Yeah, absolutely. It means a lot. Absolutely unreal. I'm still catching my breath and emotions after that. That was, a hell of a run by both Charlie and I feel like we definitely made the fuel saving strategy work on, first stint on the alternates. We were really just trying to, work on saving. And then when it came to the primaries, it was, whether I was going to have enough fuel left to do push to pass as I under fuel to try to come out of the pits a little farther ahead. Then, as you guys saw, Charlie definitely had much more speed than I did and got past me quite quick. But, yeah, happy to pull it out at the end. It's really, a fun track. I enjoyed it a lot, especially, after just 1 week of owning it and really only starting to run it on Sundays. So, really an absolute blast here and super competitive race. It really means a lot to stay undefeated on the road courses. Really happy about that.
Going through that final battle, it was clear that you had the upper hand with the push-to-pass advantage. You and Sears were both going at it there, heading into the closing laps, and you saved all of yours pretty much until the end, while Sears, on the other hand, was really trying to catch up to you and then defend himself off there. But on your end, how important and or difficult was it for you to be patient and wait for the opportunity to come with the push-to-pass?
It was extremely important. Honestly, it was imperative to this race, especially because of the fuel-saving measures that we had to have. I know some guys were making that two-stop work. But I just felt that it was going to be faster for us if we tried to make the one-stop work, do a lot of lip and coast, a lot of fuel map 5 or any other fuel save map, just to try to get it home. So once I knew that I was in the clear with the fuel window, that's when I was really able to start getting on the button a little bit more. So yeah, at that point, it was absolutely imperative to do that. And then thankfully I was able to capitalize on a little bit of going wide from Charlie and able to make that move stick, thankfully. But it was really, really good, respectful, close racing, teammate to teammate.
Yeah, it was awesome to finally see that battle come together there towards the end after a bunch of races, of course, where it was just sheer dominance. And so with all that being said now, that does it for Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. And now moving on, we go back to the AJ Foyt Cup next week, where we go to Michigan International Speedway, where everybody's expecting full throttle racing. There's going to be no braking whatsoever in the corners. Everybody's going to be packed up together, and certainly wouldn't be surprised to have that be a caution fest. That's for sure. But then if we go back to Texas Motor Speedway, for example, we saw how that race was able to play out, and each and every one of you was able to be packed up so greatly and be able to get through that one. Of course, there were obviously moments, but the way you guys were able to race in those packs and everything just so greatly throughout the whole thing. And now we have Michigan coming up, where it's going to be wide open racing and an absolutely large track too, wide, large track. How you hoping to again try to once again carry on this Mario Andretti Cup momentum and try to finally get the job done on an oval?
Yeah, you definitely said it, Regan. I'm hoping to finally try to get the job done on an oval. Hope I have better luck than I did at Pocono. So yeah, I think Michigan will be a fun track. Not really looking forward to the pack racing. I feel like that introduces a little bit more of a dynamic that I'm more on the uncomfortable side with, but I am really working to try to make myself more comfortable racing in these packs and everything. Indy cars are just so dynamic and lively that dirty air can do quite a bit. So hoping to try to take this momentum from this win today and bring that to Michigan, but haven't been able to do it on an oval yet, but we'll see. Maybe Michigan will be the change.
We'll have to wait and see on that for sure. And, of course, back to the Mario Andretti Cup. You'll have Road America next the week after for the GSG 112, of course. Maybe take us into a deep dive of what your experience is like at Road America, how comfortable you are there, and hopefully if everything goes well in Michigan, how do you look forward to trying to keep up the Mario Andretti Cup streak, the road and street course streak there, and try to get another win at Road America?
Road America is one of my favorite courses. This one I definitely have purchased prior to. So I've been running that for years on the iRacing platform with the IR18. So a lot of fun. Really, really looking forward to that course. So excited to just, get the weather set up there and figure out what we're going to be running with so I can start turning laps and figuring out how to best go about it with this setup. So yeah, Road America is going to be a lot of fun, and definitely am hoping to continue on the momentum on the road side there.
And to wrap this all up, who gets a thanks, who gets a shout out for your opportunity to come on out every single Tuesday night and get the job done?
Yeah, well, first of all, definitely want to thank again the series sponsors, partners, all of the league admins for putting on an amazing series. Also want to thank Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue. Hoping to have some of that at some point here soon. Also, again, running the pink livery for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Shout out to my mom, who is a survivor of that, fighter of that, and definitely want to take a moment to send thoughts out to anybody who is affected from that. Shout out to my family, fiance, friends. My sponsors, Motor Vault, Sparco, HyperX, they've been all great partners. Shout out to 499 Racing. We'll be taking on the Petite Le Mans this weekend at Road Atlanta. So hoping to bring home a win there and see what we can do.
Awesome to hear. Best of luck there. And yes, that certainly hits close to home for Corbin and I's mother, especially too, as a survivor and a fighter too. So Of course, greatly appreciate that. And with all that being said, that does it here for this post-race winner interview here for the first annual Circuit Gilles Villeneuve 100, presented by Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Your winner, the number 21 of Bradley Sexton at Fishers, Indiana for 499 Racing. He remains undefeated on the road and street courses so far this season. Bradley, Mario Andretti Cup wise, we'll see you back at Road America in 2 weeks. But before we get to that, of course, back to the AJ Foyt Cup. Best of luck in going for your first oval win at Michigan International Speedway. We'll see you then.
Thanks, Regan. See you then.
And so that does it here for this interview with the number 21, Bradley Sexton. Jordy, back to you. You got any final thoughts after what we just witnessed there at this first ever IndyCar Series race at CGV?
I mean, my first thought is that I'm glad we got to see a battle on a street or road course. It's been a little while since we've gotten one of those, at least toward the end of a race. Obviously, we've had some early ones, but this one stayed fairly competitive between those top two throughout. And, if that's a sign of things to come, hey, sign me up for the rest of the season, certainly. But, yeah, I think overall, some guys had some struggles in terms of damage and, guys clipping curbs and just kind of going flying all over the place. But you know what? For some, it's kind of a week to forget, but hey, reset. Michigan's on the horizon, and fresh opportunity for everybody. I know for me personally, I'm just happy that we've got a race here in Canada permanently.
Indeed so. So there's no doubt for the next season of IndyCar Series racing here within the Canadian E-Motorsports Network, we will be back in Canada. It's just a matter of where it is going to be. And so that does it right there for coverage of the CGV 100 presented by Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue here on October 15th. Now we move on to next Tuesday, October 22nd at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 8:30 p.m. Atlantic, where we'll have round number 7 of the Greg Moore Cup and round 3 for the AJ Foyt Cup, the Oval Championship. Michigan International Speedway hosts the Fort River 200. Jordy, expected to be wide open racing, more pack racing, as probably similar as we saw back at Texas, but no doubt we're going to see a lot more faster speeds, a lot more close action. Pocono Raceway had a little bit of that pack racing too in a way, obviously different style compared to Texas, but nonetheless, lots of close racing up front between those two past races. Now this third race here at the wide open and large Michigan International Speedway. What do you anticipate out of 100 laps and 200 miles?
Carnage. I think that's probably a given. That's first word that jumps to my mind, obviously. I think also you have to go in, you just kind of have to go all out. Honestly, you're talking earlier about it pretty much being full throttle the majority of the way. This is one of those times where, being conservative, it's not necessarily going to help. I think, you have to be able to kind of stick with everybody, and, staying out of trouble is going to be important, obviously, as well. But at the same time, it's the kind of thing where, if going fast is always the objective, you don't really have another option here. So we'll see who's able to kind of keep their foot in it, and we'll see who gets rewarded by the end of the night.
And out of the past two oval races set back at Texas and Pocono so far this season, in both races, we had no idea who was going to come on out with the win. We had an idea based on the drivers that were consistently up front and right there, ready to duke it out for the win. It's just a matter of who specifically would come on out on top. Again, at Texas, Andy Hertel was the one to finally get his first win since 2022. And, race ended under caution. He barely beat Corbin MacAulay down the backstretch at the moment of caution. Pocono, kind of similar circumstances there where we had a caution in the closing laps, and William Kern was able to get his first career win ahead of Stephen Ellis, just barely ahead of him. Now here in Michigan, Can we finally have a finish that ends under green? Are we going to have another driver that gets their first win in a while? Somebody else that goes to victory lane for the first time? Could Bradley Sexton perhaps be able to bring on the Mario Andretti Cup's momentum and bring onto the ovals finally? Does Charlie Sears finally return to victory lane for the first time since last season? Like, there are so many storylines, there's so many drivers. Any one of them could go to victory lane at Michigan International Speedway. Obviously, I can't wait for it. I imagine you can't wait for it either.
Yeah, I mean, this, it kind of just feels right to be at a place like Michigan in these particular cars. As again, we saw, like, if Texas is sort of the precedent to set, and we know how wide open Michigan is just in terms of sheer speed and options. Yeah, this is going to be one to watch without question.
And to those of you watching, you're going to want to make sure that you're here with us and watching on the Canadian E-Motorsports Network YouTube channel next Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 8:30 p.m. Atlantic, to watch the Forked River 200 at Michigan International Speedway. It could be anybody's race to win. You'll just have to come on out and find out. And so that's going to do it here for live coverage around number 6, the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve 100, presented by Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. The win going to the number 21 of Bradley Sexton at Fishers, Indiana for 499 Racing. He remains undefeated on the road and street courses. Will he finally get the job done on an oval next Tuesday night? You'll just have to find out back here, of course, next Tuesday. So on behalf of Jordy Carey here, my fellow color commentator, been here since the very beginning. He is on the other side of Canada in Alberta. The rest of the Canadian E-Motorsports Network competition committee, staff, drivers, all sponsors, partners involved within us. My name is Regan McCauley out of Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. Thank you to each and every one of you for tuning in to tonight's action. It was another Canadian E-Motorsports Network production, live production on iRacing. We'll see you all next Tuesday night for the Forked River 200 at Michigan International Speedway. Take care, folks. Speed safely and have a good one.